The hypocrisy of psychological judgment. American society analyzes its behavior, particularly by use of the field of psychology, which holds significant importance to Americans. It's often depended upon to help describe why people engage in inappropriate behavior. However, a troubling trend emerges when we consider the differential treatment of Black people in these matters. Let's shed light on the glaring disparity in the way Americans tend to view psychology and psychological effects when addressing inappropriate conduct, while simultaneously subjecting Black Americans to heavy criticism and unjust treatment. Number 1, the conundrum of criticism. Psychology tells us that individuals' actions are often influenced by complex factors such as upbringing, socioeconomic conditions, and mental health. However, when America assumes inappropriate behavior is being exhibited by Black Americans, their actions are often attributed solely to the terms and conditions established by America based upon melanin. This unjust criticism has fostered and perpetuated narratives that overshadow any rational consideration of individual circumstances and shut down any accountability or responsibility with regards to the corrupt foundation of this nation, which established and deeply entrenched vile terms and conditions by which Black folks have had to live under. Recognize the inherent racism and oppression embedded within these warped judgments and wrong rulings. Number 2, the Mandela effect. Excusing collective behavior manipulation. The Mandela effect refers to a phenomenon wherein collective misremembering of past events is observed. Ironically, actions stemming from this collective misinformation, disinformation, deception, and even lying are often excused and deemed the result of shared fallible memory. This leniency toward the collective perception of reality is starkly contrasted with the harsh scrutiny faced by Black folks. Shouldn't the same extension of understanding and compassion be given to individuals who have been subjected to societal pressures, systemic racism, and historical injustices? But that requires the truth and introspection. So instead, Americans opt to stay collectively irrational. And of course, there's the legal system and governance structure. I wouldn't be myself if I didn't hone in on this one. What about the convenience of fallible memories in the courtroom? The legal system places immense importance on eyewitness testimony, despite the well-documented evidence highlighting the fallibility of memory. Ironically, the same fallible memory that is used in courts to determine guilt or innocence is discredited when it comes to the experiences and truth of Black people. This double standard perpetuates a vicious cycle within the criminal justice system and contributes to widespread injustices. While the scientists and psychologists speak up about everything else, will the scientists and psychologists speak up about the amount of Black people who have been convicted and sentenced to death and life destruction based on this Mandela effect? The suffering of Black individuals through intentional malpractice of using unreliable witness statements and fallible memory has perpetually and disproportionately affected Black people here in the United States of America. Countless individuals have suffered the dire consequences of being wrongfully accused, convicted, and incarcerated due to biased investigations and racially motivated judgments. The weight of this injustice further exasperates the social and economic disparities that already plague the white ethno-state communities where we live, and a neighborhood watch with block captains should be our immediate response so that the pathology doesn't continue to permeate and metastasize. Will the scientists and psychologists please stand up and speak out about this? Also, here we go with the role of governmental system in the Constitution. The American governmental system or system of governance relies on the principle of checks and balances with three branches of government: the executive, legislative, and judicial. working together to maintain its so-called balanced society. Additionally, the Constitution serves as the foundation of its so-called democracy, protecting the rights and liberties of, quote, all citizens and individuals. However, American system falls short in addressing the racism prevalent in its created white ethno-state society. America's malicious and malevolent discrimination towards us, highlighted in the context of psychology and criminal justice, reveals deep flaws in the effectiveness of these branches and the Constitution in eradicating what it created. The governance structure is good for explaining away its behavior utilizing psychology. However, it is not good at the introspective work needed, and that could be done through the same psychological practice to take a hard look at itself and what is it created and correct its own behavior. I mean, all of the social, political, and financial capital that this capitalistic society has, and it can't solve its own problems, but wants to solve the world's issues. How strong are you really, America? The way Americans tend to view psychology and psychological effects when addressing inappropriate behavior has undergone critical examination with no evidence of progress. It is evident that Black folks are frequently subjected to harsh criticism, unfair treatment, and systemic discrimination, despite living under circumstances where the terms and conditions were predetermined, excluding us from the meeting. I didn't get an invite to the meeting. So, call it the Mandela effect, parallel realities, and even blame it on CERN. But the truth is that America will not escape judgment for its evils and original sin, and we're not entering into a covenant of delusion with you.